I'm sorry I'm not able to greet you in person, but unfortunately COVID-19 restrictions do not permit. I trust that this time next year, circumstances will allow true celebration of RCSI lives lived and lives past. Today we are joined in remembrance and thanksgiving in an unprecedented time. However, the College has seen such times before in its 236-year history. We, like our founding surgeons and the generations who followed, have a vision of the future. We are resilient and we will prevail. So this afternoon we remember and give thanks for the founders of RCSI and the many generations of teachers, scholars and alumni who have gone before us and from whom we have inherited an ethos of service and scholarship, a deep sense of collegiality and a vision of leading the world to better health. I join with you in remembering and giving thanks for our academic, administrative and clinical staff who contributed to your education and professional development. I particularly remember Terry Slattery, former RCSI head porter and mace bearer and known to you all. Terry was as emblematic of the College as the mace itself. We are diminished by his loss. We remember partners, parents, families, and give thanks for the many sacrifices made to support your education. Remember them and give thanks for the wonderful formative years you have spent at RCSI.
Hello. On behalf of the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates, RCSI, I would like to welcome all alumni to this memorial service. We in the Association believe the memorial service is a hugely important part of our annual Graduates Reunion. It provides an opportunity to remember those who have gone before us. We remember not only the founders of the College, but we also remember those who founded the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates in 1932 as a means of ensuring lifelong continued support and connection between graduates, faculty and the staff of RCSI. While we are scattered across the world, we gather now virtually to remember the lives of all deceased graduates of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, who are also our friends, our family, and indeed our colleagues. We give thanks for their dedicated lives' work in the practice of medicine and dentistry, in the service of their patients and caring for the unwell. We remember today those graduates whose names are entered in the Book of Remembrance. We remember fondly our deceased classmates, many dying prematurely. We also remember those graduates who have served patients in difficult circumstances, in wartime and in places where human rights are not recognized nor respected. We give thanks to our graduates who brought comfort and healing to patients in the aftermath of disease, conflict, or terrorism. We value the lives and contributions of each and every one of the graduates of RCSI. I now ask Professor Ciarán O'Boyle to share a short reflection with us and a message of hope in what has been a difficult and challenging year.
The opening sentences of Charles Dickens' famous novel, A Tale of Two Cities, are curiously apt for the pandemic period that we currently find ourselves in. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us. We are living through challenging times. The demands of the COVID pandemic are greatest for frontline healthcare staff who are called upon to put their own self-interests to one side for the good of others, sometimes, sadly, with fatal consequences. Health professionals caring for COVID patients are vulnerable not only to the risk of infection, but also to the impact of a host of additional stressors that can result in mental health problems. Writing recently, two senior experienced UK doctors pointed out that behind their stiff upper lips, they felt personally very vulnerable. It takes courage to acknowledge and talk about such feelings. Silence only adds to the sense of isolation and hidden suffering. How do we decrease the risk of burnout? The Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and was a prisoner in the concentration camps, said that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Recent research on COVID-related burnout is showing that the protective resilience factors are relying on your training, maintaining your support networks, adopting a problem-solving approach, and keying into one's sense of vocation or calling. There is also important new research highlighting the crucial role of compassion, both for others and for ourselves. This has been found to increase occupational satisfaction and to decrease the risk of burnout. The distinction between empathy and compassion here is important. When a person experiences empathy, they experience another's pain. Compassion adds a further element of taking action to relieve someone else's suffering. And it is this that has been shown to increase psychological vitality and decrease exhaustion and burnout. Self-compassion is also important. Professional healthcare education, training, and practice can result in a situation in which health professionals, rightly, adopt high personal standards, but can judge themselves harshly for what they perceive as failure. Dr. Christian Neff, a leading researcher on compassion, says, "I found in my research that the biggest reason people aren't more self-compassionate is that they're afraid of becoming self-indulgent. They believe self-criticism is what keeps them in line. Most people have gotten it wrong because in our culture, being hard on yourself is the way to be." This is even more true in healthcare cultures. The neurosurgeon Professor James Doty, founder of the Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, said in 2016, "We are at the beginning of an age of compassion. Right now it's a ripple in human consciousness, but it's a ripple that has the potential to become a tsunami." Perhaps one of the positive outcomes of the COVID pandemic is that it has added further energy, volume, and momentum to the wave of compassion. When I think of all of you, our alumni, the RCSI family out there in the trenches, doing your professional best for others, my wish for you is contained in the poem Blessing by the Irish poet John O'Donoghue. It goes as follows: "On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the grey window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colours, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the sailboat of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life."
For those of us who graduated from RCSI in the 20th century, before the expansion of the college in the late 1990s, RCSI was a small, intimate place and uniquely in Ireland welcomed the majority of its students from many different countries with diverse backgrounds, cultures, languages and faiths. This diversity enriched the college and the lives of all students here. Always outward looking and forward planning, RCSI, while not then a university, gave us a good education in medicine and, as important, if not more so, an education in life, understanding the human condition and inspiring us to care for our fellow human beings. These were the first steps in the professional journey and vocational life for each one of us. In medical school, we spent 5 or 6 of our formative years studying and living together. We experienced trials and tribulations, but we also remember all the fun we had. The friendships and relationships formed in college have lasted the years and decades since. There were romances too, and some happy marriages. Another distinctive feature of RCSI is that in many families, generations have studied and graduated from the college. These valuable links and heritage stretch back over decades and even centuries. Graduates attending reunions and gatherings often remark that it feels like a family occasion, and we're all part of this family. Over the years, we have unfortunately lost members of this unique and diverse family. We now take the time to remember our classmates and friends who've passed. In particular this year, we remember graduates, colleagues and friends who've died during the COVID-19 pandemic in the service of their patients. We also remember their loved ones.
We remember your lives at this gathering, reflecting on every life you touched before passing, the impacts you made, not fully realizing your worth, whilst you had the privilege to grace this earth. We gather at our college our respects to pay. We wish to remember that you are not just away, to thank you that you lived and that you were here, though you are no longer in our lives to share. That is why we have gathered here, for all those memories we hold dear, memories that can easily be lost along life's way, but those that we wish to bring to life today. We were strangers brought together by fate, each one We were strangers brought together by fate, each one with a different story to relate, from a different land, a different culture, determined to blend, an education to capture. We've done a lot of things that we'll never regret. The good ones, the not so good ones we'll never forget. You were with us through our ups and downs, from successes to sweat, tears and frowns. There was no chance for farewell words to be spoken. We may not even know the hearts that were broken. You were gone before we knew it. You were too far away, miles from RCSI, professionally healing day by day. You had the love of new friends and hopefully a new family, and you cared for them and your patients so admirably. But we were your early friends from countries far and wide, as we experienced the joys of growing up side by side. We may not understand the circumstances of your departure, but the RCSI gathering provides an opportunity to capture, not that you are gone, but that you were with us. You have lived for 6 short years. We are so blessed that you did. We may not know all the reasons why, that we had no time to say goodbye, but for this gathering, if we could only have you back for a while, then we could sit and talk and see you smile. It's been a privilege to have known you, your memory everlasting. We're the College of Surgeons family, not just friends in passing. The fact that you are no longer here will always cause us pain. But at each reunion, we will remember you till we meet again.
We rejoice in the achievements of all our graduates, some better known than others, and we value the lives and contributions of each and every one. We must value and support our graduate colleagues in our professional practices and lives, understanding how important this is, especially in times of difficulty. We believe that we all try to achieve the highest professional standards and ethical values in the practice of medicine and in caring for people, our patients. Occasionally, for whatever reasons, we fail or find ourselves in difficulties. In these circumstances, the help and support of our graduate colleagues are most needed. We believe that we should all be vigilant, aware, and sensitive to graduates in difficulties. It is a tragedy when a graduate colleague takes his or her own life, and we must ask ourselves if we have failed to notice their difficulty or failed to help. We all took the Hippocratic Oath, which recognizes the vocational and ethical core values of the medical profession. The foundations are respect for human life, charity for our fellow human being, and love for our neighbour. To conclude, in memory of and in thanksgiving for the lives of all our deceased graduates, and in the words attributed to Hippocrates, as practicing doctors we must heal sometimes, treat often, and comfort always.
You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while among the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her hair came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we walked in fields of gold. Many years have passed since those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down among the fields of gold. You'll remember me when the west wind moves among the fields of barley. You can tell the sun in his jealous sky when we walked in fields of gold. When we walked